Welcome again to Sage Synergetic Age, A New World Eligion, Episode 128, SEEEC 52, February 17th, 2022. Democracy's Mindless Corruption. Reference for this episode today is included. Links are provided in my transcript on my website, sagesynergeticage.com. Read the entire transcript for your research in this education experiment. Synergetics, Eligion, experiential, experimental, education complex, SEEEC. A short poem, Sowing Relevant Rows, by Christina Universe Citizen, February 16th through February 17th, 2022. I awaken at pre-dawn light to think, to sow, to write, scribing row after row. Old words, new words flow. From sender to receiver it goes, while barely grasped, unasked, it is seldom a pointless task. Incountable minutes, time, and space points push through the opposite face. The system turns inside out with care. Relevance unfolds breaths of fresh air. On an impressively grand scale, humans en masse arise in protest against all that has grown disproportionately more powerful, with each leveraged advantage that disadvantages the experience of freedom. By degrees, the freedoms we know least about are conceptualized by mind's conscious awareness of the tetrahedron as the lowest common rational denominator of universe. It can be extrapolated in life, this lifetime's experiential, experimental phases. The conceptualization experience permits new awareness that our humanity had not entered into before. It is cosmic and uniquely individual, as the topological reminders of the tetrahedron contribute to our increasing knowledge. It occurs as a familiarization at every conceivable turn in the human experience as ongoing problematic events continue occurring in the world. What are the values of unobserved intervals correlatively to awareness of the lowest common rational denominator? As we extrapolate the tetrahedron into a lifetime of values, the observed intervals of this lifetime's values occur between points of view. The oscillations and vacillation between certainty and doubt, trusting and distrust. More obviously, from accumulating data, the disseminated content that concerns the governing system, alluded to as democracy, has unwittingly and intentionally permitted rampant corruption to increase tolerance magnitudes of the residual inaccuracies. The non-transparent, self-serving, residual inaccuracies are valued by those whose highest priority values money and power. The culminating concept predicaments may not have initiated to derail the governing system, but in a shared commonality of best intentions, the initial purpose becomes warped in the company of criminality. It rationalizes its least common denominator, which is money, as a survival measure, where like-minded deceivers convince each other that it is permissible to adapt to such deception because it is expected and accepted in positions of power. Given periodic authoritative permission to representative entities in 2-year and 4-year renewable cycles, the people in a democracy are expected to reset the political stage. The idea is to replace actors and to fill vacated seats. Hopefully it will be with public servants, political representatives, humans whose devotion and dedication value democracy and the living Constitution as a referential, guiding influence. Alas, though, to what eternally regenerative patterning integrity is the governing system's referential energy and synergy that also permit this new era's cosmic awareness of universe's minimum structural system? Is the minimum structural system money? Is it corruption? Is it a combination of money and power acting out the PRJWBC schemes? Politics, religion, justice, war, belief, complex schemes that value the power of money? It is not as if fresh new starts occur as the conceptualization experience that permits awareness of cosmic complementarities, where geodesics and irrelevance can set a new tone. Instead, the incoming waves of local problem solvers start their terms in office within a foundation of corruption. The misaligned bureaucracy not only has permitted corruption to settle into every conceivable politically permitted opportunity to profit at the democracy's expense, laws are made to perpetuate the impositions. The offsetting perturbations signify irrational perpetration as a regulating basis. Without let-up, it perpetually intends to manifest contrived trends, expecting adaptations to these forms in future scenarios referential to monetary incentives, supposedly as the most influential proof of providence. The problem with monetary providence is the inherited detriments and its omission of finite universe's conceptual generalized models. One of the generalization models is the only omnisymmetrical structural system that can be turned inside out at anticipatory intervals. Between 2 points is 1 interval. Between 3 points are 2 intervals. Between 4 points are 3 intervals. Since points are tetrahedrons of negligible altitude and base dimension, perhaps the intervals might be synonymously spaces or chords that technically and conceptually are interaccommodating the intertransactive, intertransformative behavior patterns correlatively to the generalized conceptioning fields of thought. Thereat, freedom is not mistaken as an integral individual evolution essentiality. Instead, freedom is recognized integrally and valued correlatively to every action, reaction, resultant, energetic, synergetic intention, to decrease the tolerance magnitudes of the residual inaccuracies of the ever reenacting articulations and observations, while the reenacting articulation is corruption in its best disguised, least transparent socio-political camaraderie, with many countermanding implications. The participants join a type of coerced agreement to cancel whatever seems necessary in the course of the time-limited negatively directed obligations. The group mentality could not have foreseen how deeply indebted to the deception the interactions would go as their entire lifetime is yet unfolding. Such like-minded solidarity mutually supports whatever was not the least detectable, as their genuinely dedicated intention joined the as yet unidentified fray, F-R-A-Y. It develops into a fight to rationalize the deception as the democracy is destroyed from within, where the standard is corruption in highest offices, implementing most lucrative monetary rewards, imperviously unconcerned for the principle of conservation of symmetry. The principle of conservation of symmetry was not fully evolved as the Constitution was written, and as experimental democracy continues with it in mind as a living testimony that recognizes the individual's inherently inviolable integrity. As a result, the unwary governing system veers further away from true democracy, which would be consciously involved with persistently forming a more perfect union and not edging closer toward totalitarian implications. The inclinations are initiated as a ruse, where socialism gradually trends toward communism, which altogether is quite an alarming prospect before our consciously evolving humanity realizes that the tetrahedron can be extrapolated into life, the life of a true democracy experience. Logically, we can refer local problem-solving concerns to the principle of conservation of symmetry and its inside-outing tetrahedron as we write the discourses of our future intentions as an evolution species. Our omni-rationally coordinated thought and language, thought and action, can recognize that corruption relies on money incentives as we rethink alternative options concerning the most economic way of behaving relative to unity and self in universe. How the democracy became a corrupt system might be impossible to trace to the first incident, but most likely it was as a tyrannical personality joined forces with like-minded deceivers that misinterpreted what is usually referred to as the American dream. For openers, it might be wise to tune into YouTube, Hillsdale College, Adam Andrzejewski's The Depth of the Swamp, March 5th, 2020. It inspired this episode with more knowledge than I had before I tuned into it yesterday, February 16, 2022. The comments are uplifting, as I hope this episode can be. Thank you.